Go ahead and get started. That's a hard act to follow that we just... I'm Karen Endal. I'm the principal at Butterfield Middle School, and it's a very wonderful place to be. And we are not a school of innovation. We are a school that meets compliance, but we're doing innovative things. And we're not to the level of our speaker that we just heard. There's a lot of similarities, a lot of things that we're doing, and we appreciate you being here today and getting to share with you. With me today we have a team. This is Kelly Jackson. She's one of our 7th grade teachers. She's a check off the list kind of person, and so she's somebody that just dives in there and goes out there, but it's not her comfort zone at all, but she's doing great with it. This is Ashley Gillespie, and she's one of our 8th grade teachers, and she's more like that penguin. She'll get going and go out there with that. And then this is Deborah West, and she's kind of a cross between, and she's our curriculum coach, and so that's just a little bit of our team here today, and they're in our lead team along with several others. So we appreciate this opportunity to share with you, and we're going to talk about how we ignite a passion for learning in our school, and we design engaging learning experiences, and our whole goal is to transform student learning. We want our kids to want to be at school. And so here's a little bit about Butterfield. I'll let you read our demographics. We're in Buren, Arkansas, across the river from Fort Smith on I-40. But why do we come to school every day? Well, we're there to make the difference. That's what we talk about all the time. That's what we're there for. And how we're going to do that, igniting a passion for learning. We want kids to want to be there, and we want teachers to want to be there, because that's a whole big key to that. And what we're trying to do, because we're a middle school, and any school should be doing this as well, in our opinion, but we want kids to become leaders of their own learning. We want them to be able to do the things where they're going to be successful as they move forward. So that's a little bit about our demographics. We believe in the whole child, and that's a big focus where they're healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. And then we take a model that we kind of pattern a lot of our work after, and it's EL education, which is expeditionary learning model. And we take that, but any kind of model that you find out there, you've got to tailor it to fit you, your kids, your culture, your teachers. And so this is what we do as we move forward in our school. This is a big piece of what we do as well. We do habits of work and learning. Our business community told us that these are the things, respect, responsibility, perseverance, that kids going out in the workplace, they just don't have these things. Showing up on time, attendance, all of those different kinds of things. So we use this school-wide, and we have a rubric for it. We borrowed it from King Middle School in Portland, Maine, and we tried it on for size in our school, and it fit very well. And we're pointers. So can you howl like a pointer? I think, Kelly, you kind of came up with that. And that's what we use. And so our kids are always talking about their howls to their teachers and everyone else. So we want to tell you what a learning expedition is. And I have a definition here. But it comes from this book called Leaders of Their Own Learning, which is put out by EL Education by Ron Berger. If you've never heard of him, it's wonderful. And I would highly recommend that. Learning expeditions are interdisciplinary studies led by a teaching team. They're based on state standards, so we're not ignoring our standards, and they're aligned with our local curriculum maps, and they're focused on the essential content and skills. Each learning expedition includes guiding questions, kickoff experiences, case studies, projects, lessons, fieldwork, experts, service learning, and a culminating event at the end. So it's project-based learning, but it just has lots of different components, and so that's kind of our guide as we go forward. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give you an overview of a few of our learning expeditions from last school year. And this was the 6th grade one. And part of how I judge igniting a passion for learning is body language. And when I see kids engaged and they're not looking to see how much longer they have to be there and all of those things, we took our kids out to Lake Fort Smith. In this one, they created a booklet together. They were into it. I don't know if you can see, but the shirts, we all have shirts that say igniting a passion for learning, and the kids wear them all the time. Then we bring in people from the community into our school, and a lot of hands-on, and the kids, you can just see on their face, you can see, are we igniting a passion for learning? This is an 8th grade unit, and we have 2 teams, challengers and adventurers, and so they did some things together and then kind of split off. We're very lucky because we have a cemetery just up the road from our school. Perfect place. You don't have to take kids all across town. It's just right there. And then we had some expert speakers come in and talk to them about Civil War monuments and different things like that. Then the kids all have a presentation, something that they do and they present to the community. And again, they were so engaged. In fact, if you ever do something like this, they'll say, come hear me, come hear me. We want you to hear me, because they're so prepared and they're so into it. The challengers also did a similar unit, and they presented to our community, but then they also presented to their parents as well. This is a unit called Rules to Live By, our 7th grade did. And the kids research, they get together, it's a lot of hands-on. It's with technology, but it's not an either or, it's an and both. And that's what we're doing across our school. And again, very, very much engaged, bringing in community people. Even our superintendent, Dr. Jeff Cothier, his rule to live by is to stay positive. And I really thought that was really good. But then our teachers put their rules to live by out in the hall, and we're very much engaged with that. So that's just a little bit of overview. And now we're going to take you through our steps that we use. It's a 6-step process that we use for planning, and it takes a lot of planning and planning several times with it. And we borrowed this from King Middle School, but then we've tweaked it to make it our own. And we're going to take you through a unit called Is Freedom Ever Free and talk about those 6 steps. So with that said, let's see. Kelly, are you next? Sorry about this. We anticipate this. Teachers always monitor and adjust. And so Kelly is going to speak here. There you go. Good evening. That's just your outfit.
I know. That's so me. So step 1 we call ignition, imagining a learning expedition. So this is where you would start. What are your standards? What is your curriculum? You are not going to not meet your standards. You're not going to not address your curriculum. You've got to do that in learning expeditions, do that. So who can you partner with in the community? Community is a huge part of expeditionary learning. Okay. What community problems exist where you live? What opportunities exist in your community? What community ties do you have? There's also service learning opportunities. We have Keep Van Buren Beautiful. They've offered to help us. And you need a compelling topic. What's your guiding question? And does it allow for multiple perspectives? Okay, it can't just be where everybody's going to have the same view on something. The community is our classroom. We've got, there's so many resources out there in your community, and I think that a lot of us really don't tap into that. And you've got people who want to help you. What kind of experts are your parents? What kind of experts do you have in your community that are willing to come in and share that expertise? For the planning, is freedom ever free? First of all, they looked at the 4 Freedoms Expeditionary Unit that they did at King Middle School. The second thing, Ashley did Museum PD. She was able to go there one summer, and it was all about the First Amendment, and they provided case studies, and the kids were able to do research with those case studies. They did some debate with those. That's kind of how they got it kicked off and got the kids really interested in Is Freedom Ever Free with the First Amendment. This particular EL unit focused on language arts and history, and these are the parts of the standards and the curriculum that this EL unit addressed. Poem, symbolism, social justice, and civil rights. They used the Korean War Memorial as an example. I believe that it says freedom is not free, or freedom is never, which one does it say? Freedom is never free? Okay, I can't, because I can't remember. But so they took that and they made it into a question. Is freedom ever free? And that was their guiding question. Is freedom ever free? Walk a mile in her shoes. That is something that we do in our district. It just came back to our school last year. We had a student who, through social media, was kidnapped and murdered 5 years ago. And this is about domestic violence, focused on freedom from fear. And we had some kids who that was their focus, freedom from fear. Crystal Bridges, we had the museum guides talk to our students about symbolism. What is the art saying to you? The VFW, we made some connections there. That was who were our kids' guides at the Fort Smith National Cemetery. When the kids got to the cemetery, they were able to look around. They were to find one of the soldiers there, and they had to do some research on that particular person and find out what sacrifices they made. And then the last one is the Veterans Memorial Park. We're in Van Buren, Arkansas, and they've just, I think, broken ground on it and are moving dirt around on the Veterans Memorial Park. And we had our mayor who came to speak to our 8th graders, and he talked about how the Memorial Park is actually based on the 4 freedoms. And our kids actually, when we did our celebration of learning, which is when you invite the public, they raised money for the Veterans Memorial Park.
Trade off. There we go. I think we should have a joke or commercial break. All right. Step 2, the final destination. You always begin with the end in mind. And we were very lucky in that we took some specific days in order to plan this unit. One of the things that you can never underestimate is the amount of time you need to put into planning. What will the final product be? Everything else you plan toward the final product. And as you go through this unit, you want group work. You want your kids to be working with other like-minded kids. But every student needs to have one piece of work that is their very own. So we determined that we wanted collages, an artist statement, and then a chart that could be a group chart. But the other 2 had to be individual projects. How can we make this work public? We do a celebration at the end of every unit, and we invite our public in. We ask partners to come in. We've had the mayor come in. We've worked with the VFW, as they've said earlier. Anybody that we can pull in from our community to work with us. We try to be very inviting. We go out and seek partners. And then we use whatever resources that we have that are close enough for us to be able to access them. And we're really very lucky. Van Buren is an old city. And we're right across the river from Fort Smith, which has quite a few resources. So we tap into as many resources as we can that are local. And then what exemplars must be created? You can't just say, well, I believe. You have got to be able to do some research behind that. We require our students back everything up with fact. So they do a lot of research into what they want, whatever they've chosen as their freedom. As you can see, here are these are some examples of our collages. There is a rubric that the students must follow. We also give them some exemplars. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, but we want them to know, here's what one could look like. And they decided the way they wanted to do it. They could either do it digitally, or you'll see some examples of hand-drawn or collages. So you just we wanted them to have the freedom to develop this as they wanted. They did have an artist statement. Again, a rubric guides their work, and an exemplar so that they can see what one might look like. And finally, on our celebration of learning, we did a public invitation. We had questions for our artists, and then we had guest judges who came in, looked at the work, and evaluated it based on a certain rubric. Okay.
All right. Step 3 is all about involvement, and it's important when you're planning an expeditionary unit like this that you're going to involve the teachers, and so it's not just one person taking the lead, but that a teacher team is involved, that you're going to be involving the teachers throughout the school, that you're involving your community, and finally that you're involving the students throughout the planning process. Not that this is something at the end that students are going to do, but that they're a part of the learning journey the whole way through. For teachers, this is kind of the way that we make sure everybody's on the same page. So when we start an expedition, we have about 2 people from one maybe from each team, or maybe 2 people on one team that are our crew leaders for an expedition. And then we share the learning with everyone else on our team of teachers through these shared documents. So it's important to have a shared calendar and other planning documents. And these are all links, and we'll share all of this with you if you're interested at the end. Also, like I said, it's important that the community isn't involved just at the beginning or just at the end. Just like the students, we want it to be part of the learning journey the whole way through. So when we were planning for the Is Freedom Ever Free expedition, we made sure that the community was involved at the front and then also again at the end. So these are just a couple of ways. We got the mayor involved and the men from the BFW.
Yeah, and not just involved, but they actually helped plan.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. It took us to a different level.
And then finally, our students were a big part of the learning too. So at some points they were leading and introducing a meeting with the mayor at our school. They were the ones that created the invitations previously, and the students were the ones inviting the community members to come in. And then finally, you can see Kelly here, we invited the teachers to come in, and the students were the ones presenting to the other teachers, even if it was from a different grade level. All right.
We decided to switch off roles, so it wouldn't be so boring, but we didn't anticipate this, but we'll make it work. We monitor and adjust. That's what teachers do.
Okay, so fuel and flight path, charting the course. So what kind of resources, when you're doing this, you're going to be like, well, what kind of resources am I going to need? And how can we integrate various opportunities? Like, how can we get our community involved? Who are our guest speakers going to be? How are we going to pay for it? And how do we ensure that we're all on the same page? You know, teachers, we tend to sometimes like to do our own little thing and stay in our own little box. I'm guilty of it as well. But just like Ashley, she shared that we do a shared Google Calendar. We have planning time. Those are all really great things to help us all stay on the same page. So the learning resources that the 8th grade used for Is Freedom Ever Free? Like I said, we used the case studies from Newseum. They used banned mentor text. Also, the 4 freedoms. Materials that we needed, we did use technology. We are one-to-one. However, we have done EL units before. We were one-to-one. Is it helpful? Yes. Is it necessary? No. Some of the other materials that we use, golf pencils, mounting paper, glue sticks, paper, printer ink, staples, staplers, different types of art supplies. Also, one of the big things is space. Where are we going to display all of this? And we used, this is our safe room. We've also used, we have what used to be the locker bay area. It's now called our mall area. We've used that. We've used our auditorium. We've used our commons area. We've also used the top level of our gymnasium. Any space available, we're going to use it. Okay? And so how can we integrate those various opportunities? We had guest speakers like Mayor Freeman, who's also a veteran, so I'm sure this was very near and dear to his heart. They had a planning packet. We made sure that all students had a professional role and something to work on during the expedition. And teacher and student leaders for each field experience opportunity. So someone would be in charge, not only teacher, but student as well.
And I'm going to interrupt for just a second. We're a pretty high poverty school, about 80%. And so for our kids to get to go to crystal bridges and some of those kinds of things, because those are just really phenomenal. When you see their faces, they had no, a lot of kids think, well, I just don't want to go to some old museum, and then they got there and it's just wonderful. So it's really powerful.
Teaching them how to act in these
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So, and how do we ensure that we're all on the same page? Just like Ashley had talked about, and I mentioned earlier, a shared team calendar with what we're doing. We also have team meeting time, which I think is the best thing ever. They better not ever try to take it away from me, because I'm going to be spending it. So we use team meeting time, which is about 40 minutes a day, and interdisciplinary, which is when this would have happened, would have been twice a week. And then, of course, planning before the expedition begins. We oftentimes will get subs for a day and do the planning then. Also, paid time in the summer to create an expedition as well. So.
All right, step 5. This is where we launch. And as we launch, we get all the kids together and we do various types of launch to get them all excited and all revved up, because we want them to know the why of this unit. Why are we doing this? Why are we willing to spend the time that it takes and the work that's involved in order to do this? So we get them excited, we get them going. This has to be very engaging. It has to be something that the kids buy into. If they aren't going to buy into this, if this isn't a very high interest expedition, you're not going to get very good results. And so we make sure that when we do the launch, we do something that's very, very exciting to these kids. The learning, we do peer critique. And it's important that we teach our kids how to look at another's piece of work and be honest, but be kind and be helpful. It's important that our kids learn how to not only critique their own work, but also to see how someone else might have done it differently, might have done it a little bit better, and so they can grow from that work. Also, we aren't satisfied with the very first piece of work. These kids do multiple drafts, and whenever you see the beginning of the work and then you see the final piece, it's miraculous almost, with the differences that you can see as we guide them to get it just a little bit better each time. And then finally, relevancy. Each unit we do has to have some kind of tie to the community, something that will benefit our community. So we make sure that whatever we're doing, whenever we invite our public in, that they can see the relevancy to this whole project. So we want, if you see this, freedom is ever free, we let them choose which of the freedoms they wanted, and then some of them did a video, some of them did collages and different things, but we wanted to make sure that this was their project. They were comfortable with it.
You'd also given an assessment that matched the ACT Aspire. And we did it in 30 minutes, but now I understand that we have 40 for next year. So that's a good thing. We're celebrating that.
Yeah.
But we had the kids do one, and we actually took some of their quotes, and we have a quote from a student that we used in our launch, but they didn't know we were doing that. So it was kind of cool to see what they were already saying about freedom and what they thought about it.
Yeah. Okay. As you can see, there are very different ways that some of our kids chose to present their project. We gave them some parameters, but then we let them go. We let them express themselves in whatever best way that they felt.
I think this is analysis of a case study along the way.
Right, and you're going to see there's Chromebooks, but there's also hands-on. It's not an either-or. It's both together.
Yeah. Here you see some of our displays. You see this is another one of our teachers here that's talking to our our students want to talk to you about their work. That's what you keep hearing over and over and over again. Come over here, let me show you my work. They're so excited about what they've done and so eager to share it with you. And we ourselves are just bursting with pride at what we've seen them do.
Yeah, and while they're switching the microphones, I will say, every time we've done the teachers are always, when we reflect at the end, they're always saying, wow, I didn't know that kid could do that. Or I was so surprised at how that person stepped up. Or because we did learning in a different way for that child, they really shone. It was something really great for them. So let's celebrate.
So you can tell this kind of seems cyclical. We've talked about the celebration before, but in this step we really focus on what the celebration is going to look like and how the students are going to get involved in the celebration. So these are our 3 focus questions. And it talks about, again, about community and the students and what their roles will be and how we're going to display things. So this is a invitation that, again, a student made to invite the community in. And our goal was that we would show all of the students' collages. Every single student had a collage that was up on the walls with their artist statement hanging underneath. And you'll see some of those in a second. And then every collage had a number. And the collages were for sale, for a donation. And a parent or community member could find a collage that they wanted, put the collage number down on a Google form, and then make a donation. And that's how the students raised money for the local Veterans Memorial Park that would be opening. And they had a lot of buy-in because they were raising the money. You can see that these are students making it happen. Would not have been possible for us to have this celebration of learning without the students who were right here tying the ties on the top of the collages, sometimes putting the artist statement with the collages, and then it looks like the girls are handing them to the boys over here who are hanging them up on the poster or on the hanger.
This isn't the teachers doing this for them. This is theirs. They own it.
And then the presentation part, which I'm really proud because I think it's really important that with any kind of public gathering that students can practice their speaking and listening. So with this project, you can see these students talking to other students and talking to adults, their teachers, their community members about the work that they did, and then what freedom they chose. And they had to tell you, I chose this freedom, and sometimes that freedom was a very personal choice. And we got a lot of open up. It was really neat. This is some examples. Again, we had a collage and an artist statement. Every expedition's different. The one I'm working on right now, the students are going to be making a voter's guide. So the final product is always different, but there's some parameters, like Deborah said, that are the same.
And lots of choice. And I know he mentioned that earlier, how important that choice was for kids.
Again, some examples. And what was really neat is that each student, their choice that they made, whether it was physical or digital collages, or if it was on freedom of speech or freedom of press or freedom of religion, all of their choices had to do with them and what was important to them, kind of their passion, like he said earlier.
And the written part's very, very important as well, and making sure I've seen our kids, the grammar and everything improve so much because it's not just for the teacher in a grade, it's for these people coming in that are going to see their work. And it's all very, very public.
And then finally, with every expedition, reflection is incredibly important. So we ask the students to reflect and the teachers reflect. And if you are interested in getting this PowerPoint or slideshow from us, these are all links to our reflections. So you can even read some of the reflections that students had and teachers about our Is Freedom Ever Free unit.
Right. And this was our first year to do this unit, so we decided we would do it again next spring with our 8th grade class. And we look forward to that because we got so much good feedback, and even from our community as well. Oh, I'm supposed to put this on.
Not for long.
Sorry. Okay. So let's go over our 6-step process. This is just how we took what King Middle School had done in EL education, and we made it fit our school and what we're doing. So we started with ignition, imagining what is it we want, and that's the brainstorming stage, and you've got to be really careful with that because when you're brainstorming, it can get too big really, really fast. But in brainstorming, you want all those ideas out there, and then what brings you back to reality is number 2. It's really, really critical that what is our final product going to be, because there's always tons of great ideas of things that you could do, but then it gets too big and it's not manageable at all. So brainstorming and figuring out all those different ideas and questions and things that fit our curriculum, and then going to beginning with the end in mind. What is it? What's our final destination? And then sticking to that, bringing us back to that focus. And then it's really important that you have a collaborative culture. Trust among your teachers, them being able to work together. Kelly talked about our team time, and I'm so glad that she thinks it's important. We're very, very fortunate because our teachers have a 40-minute individual plan every day, as well as a team time for 40 minutes every single day. And they're either content or interdisciplinary. It's during the school day, and we would go to the wall for that now. Now, when we first started that in school, I would say teachers thought that I'd be better off doing something else, but now they see the value in that. In addition, we usually take a day or two and we have a core team of teachers, and we'll get subs for a day, like with maybe 2 teachers from each team if it's a grade level EL unit. Pull them in, they'll do a lot of the planning, and they take that back to their teams and their 40-minute team meetings and pull it back in, and then we'll do a couple of those and problem solve along the way. It takes, the first year we did this, we didn't anticipate that much planning, and that was a huge mistake. So I'm putting the barrier out there. It's a big deal to do the planning. Then being sure that we're charting the course, that we have all those shared documents and all those things. Whoops, sorry. Already tore it up. They're going to make a difference. So that's really, really, really important. And then when we launch, you see, the kids don't even see it till here. We've done all this pre-planning. But then that launch where we get them in the auditorium or we do some kind of activity to get them all excited about it, all of these plans start coming to life for the teachers as we're moving forward. And also we see some barriers that we have to adjust along the way. And so then all the excitement goes on. We start doing all these plans that we had up here. And then at the end we have this big celebration. And that celebration is really critical as well. And we try to tie in a service component to it if we can, because our kids, with our habits of work and learning and service to our community, we think that that's a really, really big deal as we move forward. So, resources that we use. How many of you have heard of the Buck Institute? If any of you use their materials? Great materials for project-based learning. Then EL education. How many of you use that? Anybody use that? Okay, that's the Leaders of Their Own Learning, and they have great resources, including a site that's put together, curated by students at Harvard in the School of Education, where they take samples of high-quality student work, not just from expeditionary learning schools, but also from high-tech high, from new tech schools. They have all kinds of student work that you can get and actually look at examples to show your teachers, to see something like maybe our very first ones is taking something that's already been done and then tweaking it to fit us. And that's how we did our animal adaptations for 6th grade. We found one that some 6th graders across the country had done and then adapted it for our area. We also very much involve the tenets of the whole child. We do believe in the healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. That's a big part of our school, and we're about the well-rounded student as well as the well-rounded teacher. So this can cause some stress for some teachers. Would you guys say that there's some stress? Yes. So we have to watch that and be pulling in some things to help with that. I will tell you, when we get to the celebration at the end, even though teachers maybe were stressed along the way, it's like they're like, oh, wow. This is why I'm here. I'm here to make a difference, and I see on these kids' faces and the community and all that how this is really making a difference. It's bringing learning to life. Schools to watch. We're a middle school, so their survey and all their research aligns directly with this kind of learning. And so we very much try to look at that, and we have our staff take that survey every spring to see where we are with that. And then King Middle School in Portland, Maine is an EL education school, and I would highly suggest you look at their website. We've actually had the privilege, I think the last couple of years, of taking a group of teachers up there for a site visit and to be part of their school and their kids' celebrations and seeing what their kids can do. And it just has really fueled our fire to help us move forward with this kind of learning. Here's some contact information, and then there's a QR code. I don't know if it came out. Is it kind of blurry? Are you able to get to it? It's a way for you to sign up and give us your email address, and we can share this presentation as well as the links and things with you. So if you're interested in that, we want to be sure that you have that information. And then also, if you'd like to come to our school, we are not perfect by a long shot. We are learners and will always be learners, but this is some exciting work that we are doing. Again, we're not a school of innovation officially. We haven't gone through that process, but we're trying to take a school that follows compliance and does all the ADE requirements and the federal requirements, but within that, be able to do some innovative things for our kids, because that's what we're there for, and we think that that's really, really critical. As we get toward the end of our presentation, let me make sure of our time. Yeah, we've got about 4 minutes, so we're doing well. We want to see if you have any questions, and then we have a takeaway that we'd like, and I'll get these ladies to pass this out. Oh, yes. Let me go back.
Back one more. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I know that when I'm in a conference, I'm like either typing notes or writing notes, and sometimes I feel like I missed something. So we wanted you guys to be able to get to this whole presentation if you would like to, so you could see. This was our latest. I'm loud enough. This is our latest 6th grade EL unit. It's called "That's How Butterfield Does It." That's a little cheer we do. That's how Butterfield does it. Okay. And the 6th graders have needed to know how Butterfield does it, because sometimes they come in, they don't know. You guys all know what I'm talking about, don't you? And so they did some research and came up with these. So we've got little handouts for you guys to take away. And you can
Our 5th grade comes from 6 elementary schools, and when they come into our middle schools, they are coming new to grading, new to all kinds of things that are totally different. So each one of these was created by students, and they just completed this last week. And we decided, you know what, we're going to have our kids research and learn about how Butterfield does it. They interviewed the principal, the nurse, the counselor, everybody across the school, the cafeteria ladies, and they researched and learned, and each class put together, and the kids did this on a shared Google Doc, different things, important people, the culture, the schedule, and this was the final product that they gave to their families as the families came. And what I'm going to do, and I have just a very brief overview of this, because we just did this last Tuesday, and we haven't even reflected on it yet, but let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, that's how Butterfield does it. Wow. Let me start over. Okay. Stop.
we have it in the background. Like, does anybody else see this? Lower volume.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, I don't know where that volume came from. He came in the door, and there we go. There we go. So I don't blow everybody out of the room. Okay. This was just kind of an overview, and it doesn't have to be something like super big that's impossible to do. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is our unit that our 6th graders did last week. That's how Butterfield does it. There's Deborah. Student explainer.
I just have one. Okay. In the first one, the first example you showed, it was an individual final destination.
Every expedition has there are group elements along the way, like group discovery along the way, and then the final product
Is always individual?
is individual. There's at least an element that's individual.
Right, and these kids all had little field guides that were individual where they took notes of all these different things, but then their final project was a group with their class, which is this
The
pamphlet.
final project is always an individual project, the very last.
There is a product that is always individual.
Right.
Like, on this one, that's a class, so that ended up being a group together, but they each had individual things that they could show their parents. So, yeah.
So either along the way it's individual and final is collaborative, or collaborative along the way and individual.
Somebody back here, I thought I saw a hand raised.
Yes,
Yes.
right
Do you do it by grade, like, so with each grade do these projects?
At this,
Do you, like,
at this, okay, well, like last year, we did an 8th grade, the whole grade level, but we also did, we have 2 8th grade teams, and so each team did one, and they used the same standards and everything, and they had similar things, but then they made a different kind of project with it.
That's Pom Pom, our pointer dog. Just in case
Oh, and-
anybody's wondering why there's a dog in the picture.
And not that we're being political, but that Hillary and Trump thing right there, that's not how Butterfield does it, teaching the kids about our house, because there's a lot of that political thing going on there. So that's a little bit about us, and if you guys, we look forward to this conference and learning along the way and getting new ideas to take back. And we're not near where the guy who was here before us that we just heard, Betty Berry, but man, there's some cool ideas, and it's just really exciting work. So thank you so much. We appreciate you guys being here.